Hey friends, this is Jeff. Got a lot of great things coming your way. First, our new book is up and available in print or on Kindle, only at Amazon.com. Friends, we debuted and have held as the #1 new personality typing book on the site. We have held that position for 3 weeks. Thank you to those of you who grabbed a book, and we're very thankful for all of your feedback. Second, we're stepping things up in July and August at aroundthecircle.org. We will be filming and posting the remainder of our first Enneagram College course. We will begin doing monthly Zoom workshops with amazing guests, and we're going to continue our mistyping interview series there. Membership for all of this, as well as getting our full 10-hour audiobook. And there's over 25 extra hours of content from interviews that's there. This is only $20 a month for members. However, if you sign up for an annual membership, we're going to send you a book autographed and inscribed by both TJ and I as a huge thank you. Plus, you or someone you love can choose a live mistyping interview like the ones that we've been posting, or a 1-hour coaching Q&A session focused on you, your type, and relationships. So if you're interested in all of that, go to aroundthecircle.org. Incredibly grateful for all of you. As always, may all good things be yours.
Yep. I said it before and I'll say it again. Life moves pretty fast. You don't stop and look around once in a while, you could miss it.
What's the most you've ever lost on a coin toss? Sir?
I feel the need for speed. Ow! Good morning, Vietnam!
What country you from? What ain't no country I ever heard of? They speak English and what?
60% of the time, it works every time.
That doesn't make sense.
It's in the hole! It's in the hole!
All right.
These go to 11.
Dr. Lecter, my name is Clarice Starling. May I speak with you?
The first rule of Fight Club is you do not talk about Fight Club.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
I must break you.
I want to learn the ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
We love some movie characters, and sometimes the best way to get into the characters we love is to dig deep into their motives, their calling, and their sense of self, and talk about what they really, really want. This is Movie Typing, where we engage and unveil the intentions and drive of the greatest characters on film. My name's Jeff Cook. I'm a philosopher in Greeley, Colorado. With me is TJ Wilson, businessman, lover of theology, and personality typing expert.
Hello!
TJ.
Hey.
We're on with one of our favorite guests.
Yes.
The Luddite Daniel Mothershed. So a self-described Luddite today.
This is the first time I've ever used a computer.
I think there's only like 12 people in the world presently who aren't Luddites. The tech has gotten so far away from the rest of us that we're all still somewhere in the 28 or so.
No, sir, my 2-year-old niece came over and told me how to hook all this stuff up, so it's great.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And she did it without speaking even. I mean, I'm sure she's talking, but doesn't know all the right words for all the things, but is able to like point you in the right direction.
No, she does. She just chose not to speak to me because that's also a way of teaching.
That's fair.
Friends, you are in for a treat today. Not only are we continuing our series into heroes, not only are we getting a chance to talk about sevens and this Enneagram type, but we are talking about what I imagine is one of our favorite topics in the world. Off mic, all of us said that we could actually do an entire other podcast on Robin Williams if given the opportunity. But today, it's go time. I don't know that there's a conversation I've looked forward to more this year than this one.
Yeah, because Robin Williams is freaking amazing and prolific, and what more? There's so much that we could possibly say.
Singular, legend. There is no other human being that I could name who is in the same category as this man. And on top of that, deeply emotionally important to a lot of us. And I think we're going to consistently land in that space. Mm-hmm. Hey, guess what, TJ?
Yeah.
This podcast is probably going to need a heads up, going to need a What
At least one.
a couple of fine prints. What's the line, Daniel, from Aladdin?
The genie as William F. Buckley. There
Yes.
are a couple of addendums, a couple of provisos, a few quid pro quos.
Friends, this episode's going to include a lot of unfiltered profanities, discussions of heavy drug use, discussions of sex scenes, discussions of the death of friends and death by suicide, and fair warning, plenty of crying from Daniel and me as we discuss the great Robin Williams.
Doesn't mean I'm not going to. There's a good chance I'll cry too.
We figured you could take care of the profanity and the drug use, and we would just do the crying.
Perfect. I'm on board. Cool.
I will not be surprised when this is the most emotional episode that we've recorded in a long time because of how much this man that we're discussing has meant to our culture, meant to our understanding of life and death and pain and joy, and I was shocked doing my notes at how much this man has actually meant to my life. There were times where I was like, oh yeah, this is actually a pivotal place in my life. Right. And it was influenced by Robin Williams. I would never have guessed this. And it's happened multiple times. So
it's almost like even there are different scenes from his life that represent different eras of my life.
In thinking about and prepping for this, it occurred to me just how often my brain thanks in Robin Williams quotes and in Robin Williams moments. And literally even earlier today, somebody explained a long list of things to me that I had to do. And the first thing I wanted to say was, and after you box them, which is Mrs. Doubtfire when he gets so it's just always in there.
The way that we're going to do this, friends, is we're going to pick 15 scenes from all of the Robin Williams canon. That's going to include movie scenes, but it's also Robin Williams is going to be the only person I bet that we do this with in our entire hero scene where the man's life actually often elevates above even the characters that he's representing in terms of the heroism. And it's just worth naming. It's worth naming why it affected our culture, why it affected us. You know, it's just one of the examples of the many things we could say about what makes this man singular. Before we introduce Robin Williams and talk about heroism, I wanted to share one short story. I had never heard this story before. I'm doing the study, and this story captured the big idea of our discussion for me. So I'm actually going to jump into the middle of the timeline. 4 years after Robin Williams died, Steven Spielberg gave an interview to Time magazine. Do you know, off the top of your head, what movie Spielberg did right before he did Schindler's List?
Jacob the Liar?
Jurassic Park?
He did Hook.
Oh, is it Hook? Because I knew Robin Williams was in.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't Spielberg? Never mind.
Spielberg is going around and he is promoting the 25th anniversary of Schindler's List. And he tells a story he hadn't told before. He said this to People magazine. He said, Robin knew what I was going through. You know, they had become friends on Hook. But Robin had kept in touch with him as he traveled overseas. He's in Warsaw. He's filming some very graphic, deeply emotional stuff. Robin knew what I was going through. And once a week, Robin would call me on schedule. And he would do 15 minutes of stand-up on the phone. And these calls became a cherished part of his rhythms during this filming process. And Spielberg said, eventually I would laugh so hard because I had to release so much. And this was Williams' aim. And Spielberg said the way Robin is on the phone, he'd always hang up on the loudest, best laugh that you would give him. He'd never say goodbye. He'd just hang up. You laughed really hard. I did my job. I'm off. One of the reasons that we're going to talk about Robin Williams and not just Mr. Keating or Sean Maguire or the Genie is because Robin Williams was singular. He was special. He's not necessarily a movie box office king. He is of an entirely different quality of entertainer and man. The thing that kept hitting me as I'm watching clips and such is that this is a man who makes you feel.
Yeah.
And he uses that skill to great effect. And I'm going to say this frequently. It's clear Robin Williams loved people.
Yeah.
As we're walking through the beats of his life, we're going to see choices that are deeply heroic for me while remaining incredibly human. That is what I always see with him. That's a human being. That's a man who suffers. That's a man who feels pain and struggles with addiction and has real issues in his family and work life and all the things. And at the same time, elevates for the sake of everybody else.
Yeah.
And so that's why we're tackling Williams the man and not a specific character.
And I also think that it's important to recognize that across the spectrum of the types of characters that he would portray, he brought something of himself to the screen that was that ability to change forms but still make us all feel something. One of my favorite films of his is 1 Hour Photo, and that movie is messed up. It is so dark and it is really weird, and
Cy Parrish.
There's feeling for this character, right? This poor lonely man that is clearly a villain, and he is able to bring that humanity to all of the characters that he portrays. And it is really significant that it's not just the characters that are heroic. It is the person bringing those characters to life that is bringing his heroism.
As I was watching him throughout the week to prepare for this, like, the thing I kept thinking over and over again was like, man, every time I watch Robin Williams do anything, there's like a reminder of what it is to be alive in his work. And it still feels so present. And I think that's why, for me, there is such a profound... I have simultaneously been really looking forward to this, but also really not looking forward to this, because Robin Williams was such a huge part of my life, which sounds weird to say. I hate when like people get overly involved in the death of a celebrity. But since he died, the amount of Robin Williams content that I consume has really gone down, just because it's hard to watch the stuff and be like, oh, this guy's not here anymore. And he's been here for most of us for our entire lives. Like, most of us do not know a world, and certainly not an entertainment world, that this guy has not been a part of to some degree. So it's to fit into my Enneagram number. It's always a little melancholy.
But the thing is that you're not alone there.
Oh, hang on. Did you hear what I said about my Enneagram number, Jeff? Never mind, you wouldn't get it.
Daniel LaFour, I stand corrected. If you do a survey of Americans and you said, what celebrity death hit you the hardest? I bet you he's over 50%.
So Robin Williams, David Bowie,
Prince.
And not that the other people that we've lost don't kind of hit you hard, but he wasn't like elderly, but he wasn't in his 40s. It wasn't John Belushi or John Lennon. He died in his 60s, but still we got hit. We're going to spend a lot of time on the beauties and the hard lens of looking at his death. But I think his death says a lot more about his impact on each of us than it does about anything that actually happened there.
Yeah.
First memory of Robin Williams for you all.
The one that I remember is Hook, which came out in 1991 when I was 6 years old.
Because you're a millennial.
Because it was a fantastic movie about that tells a different type of Peter Pan story. Like if you look at the canon of Peter Pan stories, it's like Peter Pan, 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 Hook, and Finding Neverland.
Yeah.
And like that's it.
Yeah.
It's like an alternate version that still captures the whole heart of what the story is about. And he's so amazing as an adult Peter Pan. So that's my big one.
The thing about Hook for a lot of, especially millennials, so I'm Gen X, but it's so beloved by people who are 10 years younger than I am for exactly the reason that you're saying. I was 6 when I saw this.
Yeah.
And it's one of those movies alongside something like The Last Jedi and Unforgiven and Logan. It's the character who's now older, the hero who's now older, and you're deconstructing and reconstructing the story that everybody knows.
Right.
But now it's a new story. And as was said, the amount of affection for that movie for folks who saw it when they're young is always just off the charts in my mind. Like, as I'm sure this is true, I bet when I say the word food fight on film, pardon the alliteration, Hook comes to mind, yeah?
Yeah, it's Hook and Animal House, but in that order.
Right.
Community.
Oh, yeah.
But as a kid, food fights are the best thing in the world.
The greatest thing ever.
I have never thought
Yeah.
that. Like, even as a child watching movies or television shows with food fights, all I can think was like, disgusting. That looks so gross. I don't want to be part of that.
Which first memory of Robin Williams, Daniel?
Aladdin, of course, was one of the first like real Robin Williams things where it's like you can see this and not have to pretend that you didn't because of the content was appropriate. And I remember I feel the same way now as a grown up, the same way as I did about watching Aladdin as a kid. And it's just, you've never seen anything like that. You watched other animated movies that up to that point in the late 80s, early 90s that are fine, they're fun. And even the revolutionary movies like Little Mermaid, like some of those other early Disney Renaissance films, they're beautiful. But you've still never seen anything like Robin Williams in The Genie, and it's this sort of this frenetic explosion when you see it, and the voices are funny. And Eric Goldberg, the animator who was the principal animator on The Genie, captured so much of Robin and his stand-up in that. And it's funny as a kid to hear the silly voices and to see him turn into animals, cars, whatever, and all the colors. But then you're also looking and like the adults in the room are laughing because you don't understand that he's doing William F. Buckley. There's a kid's movie or Ed Sullivan or Arnold Schwarzenegger or Rodney Dangerfield or Jack Nicholson or blah, 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 blah. In the third a direct-to-video sequel for Aladdin, there's a moment where Genie turns into Mrs. Doubtfire. Like it's just like you've never seen a single thing like that in your life. Or he turns into Bob Hope and Bing Crosby in one of the movies and like does a whole bit with himself about Aladdin being on the road back to Agrabah. And you're like, so that and Mrs. Doubtfire, I think, are the two that I remember the most. But then also, you know, he was on talk shows all the time. And I remember being relatively young and my dad talking about having been up early one morning and seeing Robin Williams on the Today Show or something like that. Yeah. And my dad recounting what Robin Williams had done and how they tried to go to commercial like 4 or 5 times and he just kept going and they kept going and everybody in the studio was like crying and laughing and my dad started laughing telling me this. And you both know my dad. It's not that he's a unfunny, not joyful, serious person, but he tends to be a little bit more reserved. So the fact that he was getting so much joy in telling me this as a young person, there was also a little bit of like, okay, like I think this guy is funny, and he's making this guy laugh.
Someone to pay attention to. Yep.
Some of Williams' best stuff is on those talk shows. We don't have that as any of our 15. We have some talk shows, but they're post-mortem talk show stuff. But we could just talk about Williams on the talk shows. He was the last guest for Johnny Carson.
Him and Bette Midler.
That's the level. He occupies that kind of space. He loved going on those shows too. You know he did. Like everybody, when after he passed, you know, the first thing out of their mouth was something like, you know, Williams has been on our show about 40 times in the last 20 years. Because it was clear he just got so much out of that kind of interaction with folks. And that was a place where his art was really on display.
When Conan O'Brien talked about Robin Williams' death, that was one of the first things he said. He's like, Robin was the guest you loved to have on the show because honestly, you didn't really have to do anything. You just kind of had to set him up and then let him go, and it was going to be amazing.
Yeah.
In prepping, I didn't realize how, I've said this, but I didn't realize how much this man has colored my world. I have a Robin Williams tattoo on my left wrist. I have the little boat from Good Will Hunting on my arm. My first real experience of Robin Williams was comic relief. And this is very common for me when people that I'm super attracted to and want to learn from, I'm not necessarily attracted to their personality on stage. I'm really attracted to their work, and I find out later who they are. And that was actually what happened. I was so into comic relief. And that was like I'm 10, 11, And I wanted to be a stand-up. So many of you know this, I'm a public speaker. I didn't realize this. My first public speaking experience was going to the 5th grade talent show audition. And I had written word for word George Carlin's Stuff skit out.
You know how important that is. That's the whole meaning of life, isn't it? Trying to find a place for your stuff. That's all your house is. Your house is just a place for your stuff. If you didn't have so much goddamn stuff, you wouldn't need a house. You could just walk around all the time. That's all your house is. It's a pile of stuff with a cover on it. You see that when you take off on an airplane and you look down and you see everybody's got a little pile of stuff. Everybody's got their own pile of stuff. And when you leave your stuff, you gotta lock it up. Wouldn't want somebody to come by and take some of your stuff. They always take the good stuff. They don't bother with that crap you're saving. Ain't nobody interested in your 4th grade arithmetic papers. They're looking for the good stuff. That's all your house is. It's a place to keep your stuff while you go out and get more stuff.
The high point of this, I was doing the Carlin and I was trying my best and I was feeling so awkward because I had never spoken in front of somebody before, and I'm reading from the script and I'm stumbling over my words, and I get to the funniest joke in the whole sketch.
Or wherever they give you to sleep, usually right near the bed there's a dresser, and there's never any room on the dresser for your stuff. Someone else's shit is on the dresser. Have you noticed that their stuff is shit and your shit is stuff?
And I said that, looked up at the 2 judges, and I said to them, I probably shouldn't do this, huh? It went, I don't think so. And then I left. And that was my very first public speaking experience.
Oh my God, that's so
And you're like, here's 7 other words I shouldn't have said.
I said this to my wife last night, saying, I just had this realization about part of my story. And 3, that she has reframed it. And she goes, you were epic. Those teachers went right back to the teacher lounge and they told that story for a year.
Yep. Yep. Yeah.
Jeff, there's still, having done the little bit of teaching that I have done, they're still telling that story. Like, I guarantee.
Yeah, it will come up every once in a while.
Remember when we cooked
Remember that kid
George
who tried to do a George Carlin bit?
I
the one you're thinking. It's okay.
With like shame in my heart that I brought this I brought this to the table. But
I love it so much.
That's so funny.
But 6 years later, I was Colorado State champion in speech and debate.
Whose material were you using for that?
But it all starts with Robin Williams and his work. And he was using his art to serve homeless people. And like just the waves, when you do really, really terrible things, sometimes the waves just pulse outward for many miles and create all sorts of reciprocal effects. But sometimes when you do really, really great things, the same thing happens, and it just influences people's lives in ways you would never expect. And that was one of the things that happened for me with this man's work. Yeah. Robin Williams is a 7. For those of you who are new to Enneagram or not informed with Enneagram, we do personality typing, and one of the 9 personality types is called the 7. I have a lot of thoughts about why I would consider Robin Williams a 7, but TJ is the expert here. What comes to your mind?
A couple of the big things that stand out for me is that he is so quick. He is very, very fast. And this is a Robin Williams thing. And not all 7s are as quick as Robin Williams. But he is able to move from point to point so quickly. Like, he is just a very fast thinker. And there's sort of like a stick and move thing about his comedy is that he's constantly moving to the next joke. Like there are a lot of comedians, there are a lot of performers who, when something doesn't work, they want to sit in it or they don't know how to pivot off of it. And he just keeps going. And if something doesn't work, it's already behind him. And that to me is a very 7-ish kind of quality. He wants to make other people happy. And you can see that in his career. You can see that in his personal life. You can see that on we've talked about this with the shows and stuff. There is so much about who he is as a person that he wants other people to enjoy, like to live their best life. And that is also a very 7-ish kind of thing. Wants other people to be happy. not necessarily better or like served or like that. He wants them to be joyful, to have fun with things. There is just the expansiveness of what he has done with his career, what he had done with his career. Like, he is just all over the map in that he did a ton of stand-up. He did a lot of television acting. He did a lot of movies. He did theatrical stuff. Like, he is all over the place with the ways that he is trying to engage performing. And it's like you can't really pin him down, because he's constantly moving. Those are some of the big things for me. I'm lots of other stuff is going to come out from us talking about him. But
I heard as I've just been watching stuff, I heard a quote of his played over some footage, and I hasten to say, by no means am I an expert like either of these two gentlemen are, but I know a few sevens, and what this Robin Williams quote, they were talking to him about Risk that they played over, and I was like, wow, I just listened to it, I was like, that I can hear most of, but particularly one of the sevens that I know, who all three of us know very well, I could hear that version of those words coming out of his mouth, and right. I'm gonna read it, because they asked him about risking. And it's a Robin Williams sentence, and even to like transcribe it, I was like, wow, this is a little bit all over the place. But he says, risking for me, it's just always been a part of the thing, trying different things. It's the process of the work, peeling away again. You think you're great, and then something comes along again, and you go, you're not that hot. It's always that thing that keeps you moving forward. Which I'm like, oh, yeah, it's true. But also just a great quote. And I was like, God, I can hear my seven that I'm thinking of talking about that in just a the same frenetic way.
Yeah.
When talking about sevens for me, there's the behavior and there's the motive. On the behavior side, a lot of us see the jester. A lot of us see the storyteller. A lot of us see the person who is very fast in their thinking and is trying to pull us into an adventure. And that's not always active. A lot of times the adventure that we're being pulled into is very cognitive. And I want you to think about life in new and interesting ways. And especially humorous ways, ways that are optimistic and upbeat. Let me give you a phone call while you're doing this movie on the Holocaust and pull you somewhere else because I don't want to see you in pain. That is sevenness. And that's really common with sevenness, of seeing other people in pain. And the first impulse being, I want them to be happy, being just core to this sort of person. But underneath this, we also see that these sorts of folks also can experience a lot of darkness that they repress, that they set aside. They want to pull themselves out of the pain. They want others to pull them out of their pains. Steve Martin, we had mentioned the Waiting for Godot performance that he did with Robin Williams. Martin said of him that part of Williams' character, like his actual personality, came out in that performance. And he said,
and he played it very vulnerable, as I think he was in life too. On stage, he was the master and in charge and funny and quick. And in life, he wasn't on stage anymore. I just felt a little bit of I think he was really comfortable on stage and less comfortable off stage. Always felt him holding himself together.
It was like Martin was aware that there were two sides. There, like the comedy masks are Robin Williams, as it were. And a lot of times all we see is that the one that's smiling, but that dark one is there, comes out in a lot of his later work and some of his early work, I suppose. But that's what I see with his sevenness. Last thoughts there.
I think a lot of that is, if you look at even some of his talk show appearances and a lot of his stand-up even, there's a pretty serious darkness there that is in so much funny stuff, but every once in a while you hear just an offhand observation or like a real quick thing. You go, oh, that's really dark. It's funny. It's certainly me with my personality type. I'm never bothered by it. I love that stuff. So it's maybe I just have more of a proclivity to notice something really dark and love it. But I think a lot of that is there. I remember him being on Conan once, and he made kind of he made sort of a dirty joke, and Conan just responded with, "Hey, come on, this is a family show." They had just done a bit where they had a fake New York Times, and like Robin Williams was gonna let it go, and then you could see him like, I know he was joking, but there was a little bit of like frustration in the face. He goes, "Oh yeah, clean show with a fake New York Times," and then like spent 10 minutes mocking Conan for that. And it's beautiful and hilarious, and clearly Conan, if there's anybody that could teach a masterclass in mean comedy, it's Conan O'Brien. But silly mean. I love Conan, but I love that from Robin Williams, the fact that he was so silly and lighthearted, but then there are those moments where like, man, it's like profoundly dark and I'm here for it.
The positive spin of very hard things comes out, especially early on. I memorized his Live at the Met, and I'm recalling this off memory where he's yelling about how he's a reformed alcoholic.
This is why I had to give up alcohol, because you have to pay the next day. Pray, dear Lord, please don't hurt me now. There you are lying in bed, and you feel like the scene from the movie The Fly going, help me, help me. The entire room is spinning like a roulette wheel. Place your bets, place your bets. And there's the old toilet in the corner going, talk to me. Talk to me. And you realize, oh God, next stop for me, Betty Ford Hospital. There you are, you become a reformed alcoholic. You've got a steaming glass of Perrier going, I feel so much better about myself. I feel really healthy now. No, go ahead, have your cocktail. I'll be over in the corner hurting the cat.
And just so angry about the fact, but spinning, it's okay, it's all fine. Things are going great. I have been changed.
He's got if you see the video of it, he's got that water cup. He's just shaking it.
I want to double down on this because I think it's super core to who he is. And his son really had the pulse. And his son, Zach, said that pathos was to entertain and please. And he felt when he wasn't doing that, he wasn't succeeding as a person. He was the most successful person I've ever met, but he didn't always feel that. And living in that space, that's a glitch a lot of us who are content creators, entertainers, comedians can feel is,
if you say so,
insatiable. And not being able to find where his happiness found.
And every interview with I think all three of his kids are really fascinating, only two of whom are really in the public eye. But anytime his son Zach speaks about him, it's always profound to me. Anytime he shares anything about his dad, it's beautiful and heartbreaking. And Zach is also the only child of Robin Williams that quote unquote speaks in his comedy too. And Zach is a character. He has the last line in Night at the Met when he does the little routine where he's talking to his son.
There are times my son looks at me and gives me that look in the eyes like, well, what's it gonna be?
Hey, Zach, hey, it's, I don't know. But maybe along the way, you take my hand, tell a few jokes, and have some fun. Hey, how do you get to the Met?
Money.
Yeah. Come on, pal. You're not afraid, are you?
Nah. Fuck it.
I remember he does a routine. This will not surprise either of you. On that Live at the Met, he has a great routine about Ronald Reagan because it was recorded in '87, right? And it's mean and brilliant. And I absolutely had that memorized.
We'll talk about political comedy. You brought it up, and we'll talk about that when we get to Man of the Year and some of the other stuff that's going on at that time. How he navigated, especially the post-Iraq space. But you're right, like the Reagan stuff. Like he dug into people like a good comic should.
Yeah.
Able to see. It's, again, the thinkers as a 7. The thinkers able to analyze very quickly, mock in order to expose, and not necessarily in a way that is like deductive and analytic like I would. Like, this is why this is a terrible president. It's how I go. The 7 is going to spin things in a way that's humorous, entertaining, captures the moment, and yet exposes.
Almost like he's even just repeating things that maybe the rest of us didn't notice. Yeah. And being like, here, look at how stupid this was. Mm-hmm.
And in a way that I think so much political satire, even political satire that I love, doesn't turn them into people. It turns them into sort of objects of derision. And I know that's what satire is kind of meant to do. But there's an old Saturday Night Live where he hosted, where instead of Phil Hartman doing it, they had him play Ronald Reagan. They're hooking him up with a hearing aid, and somehow the hearing aid doesn't quite work, so he can't get fed.
Sure.
Lines from his team, and he starts picking up news reports and like police traffic signals, and at one point it's telenovela, and it's hilarious. And
is
again,
that
there's
bit, or is that a thing that was actually happening?
Could be both. Could be both.
It's true.
Though I imagine if Ronald Reagan actually spoke Spanish publicly, he wouldn't be revered by some of the Republicans that revere him now. But that's a whole other. But even watching him portray watching him portray Ronald Reagan that way, it's like, even though he clearly doesn't like Ronald Reagan, he's managed to, like, oh yeah, there's Ronald Reagan the human, like full of foibles, full of whatever. And like, that's the thing, even with his political satire, it's like kind of humanizes the people he's making fun of, and doesn't necessarily make you feel bad for him, but it makes the flaws feel more human.
Spot on. The last quote for me was from Lewis Black, who doesn't seem like an emotional person to me. And when he delivered this line in Robin Williams, in the great biography, it's a documentary on HBO called Come Inside My Head. Lewis Black said this and started to weep. He said, he was like the light that never knew how to turn itself off.
Yeah.
Stellar description of a 7 who's going 1,000 miles an hour all the time and waiting for opportunities to crash and then to rebuild himself. And that feels like a real common part of his story.
That's a great, I think Lewis Black probably is an extremely emotional guy. Like, you're not that angry if you're not deeply connected to your emotions.
No, I think that's it. Like for a lot of us, our emotions turn into anger, and that's how it comes out for Black. I don't know that I've seen Black crack ever in the way that he loved that guy. That's what I saw.
Yeah.
And he saw him. Kind of move into Black in this documentary. Actually, talks about how he was moving back into alcoholism later in his life and really having a hard time. And it's one of those times where you love a guy and the disease has come back, and he was just having a hard time there.
Well, I think that also speaks to the thing that we sort of haven't really mentioned much is that we love the dancing monkey, and for basically all 7s, there's a whole layer underneath that dancing monkey that a lot of us don't really acknowledge. And one of the things that we all had to learn the hard way was that Robin Williams had a tremendous amount of hardship going on underneath the brilliant comedic mind that we got to see. He had a tremendous amount of suffering underneath all of that. And 7s, this is something that, if this is the only thing that anyone takes away from this, I think that's okay. 7s have a lot going on underneath the happy performative thing that they put out for everyone else. And Robin Williams, I think, is a shining example of that it was his priority to make other people feel happy, and he didn't know how to do it for himself.
To just build off of that, one of my favorite Billy Crystal stories, Billy Crystal and Robin Williams were basically best friends, and him and Whoopi Goldberg did comic relief together, and they spent hours and hours and hours of time together. And Billy Crystal says one of the things he made Robin love him so much as a friend is that he was willing to just sit with him. And he could be quiet with him, and he could be a person.
This was in the documentary. He didn't require anything.
Yeah.
From Robin Williams, which was made Crystal kind of singular. Yeah. And that becomes a huge element of 7s. We've quoted Rob Bell on the dancing monkey side of 7s. Another Rob Bell quote, who's an Enneagram 7. When he was talking about heroism, he talked about breaking yourself open and pouring yourself out. It's his way of envisioning how he came to the stage. And that's what I see with Williams. It's like we are feeding on this person at some level. Like we are lacking, is my experience commonly with how I come to Williams art. And I need something to move me from here to there. And that guy did it for me. Like he broke himself open in a way that was something that I could at one level consume, but at another level, it like moved me forward, and yet at cost to himself kind of. And that's the heroic place of being in the world, it seems to me. And one of the, just transitioning, what does it look, why Williams and heroism? We've been talking about an alcoholic here for a while who died very tragically. How are you seeing heroism? And that would be the first thing that comes to my mind.
Yeah.
I was just saying, and I think to still be so warm and friendly, even in the face of people demanding that from you. He told a great, so when Leno was still on television, he told a great story on Leno, saying he was at an airport once and a woman ran up to him and she was like, "Oh my God, it's you." And he was like, "Yeah, it's me." And he said this woman got up in his face and was like, "Be zany." He was like, "What?" She was like, "Be zany." He goes, "Well, I don't feel like it right now." And she like ran away from him. But it's like, wow, that's such a, and he's, I mean, who knows how he felt. Yeah. Who knows how he felt in the moment, but that's a bit, but obviously like, that's pretty tragic.
Yeah. So our big theory is that 7's moving to 1 in stress. They pick up some of the things at 1, and that's part of just Enneagram theory. But big thing is that heroism, like some of the biggest acts of moving the story forward, of overcoming obstacles, like heroism lies at the healthiest parts of your stress move. The healthiest things that 7s can pick up at 1. That's where this kind of heroism is. And some of the things that really stick out to me from his life, his stories, his films is like here's someone who never stops moving, and part of his heroism is that he gets things done when he has to. He makes the right call that may not be fixing the situation. He makes the right call that's like, the important thing here is not how it affects me, it's about what other people need. And the ability to stay in some of those places, like there's a couple of scenes from the shows and films that we're going to talk about that I think are really important on this point. But even some of the things of his life is like he is able to enter those darker spaces with other people and stay there with them to bring them out of it. Contrasted with a 4 who is going to want to just stay there and let it be, there is a movement. He's going to stay in order to help people move. And I think that representation of the heroism that 7s can pick up on is, instead of just running for the hills when things are hard, staying in the hard places to help lead people out of it is a huge part of Heroic 7.
The thing we've mentioned 7s as thinkers and observers. You don't always see that, but the one thing that 7s do better than anyone else is observe the things that have energy and it's a uniqueness yet potential. 4s can see the uniqueness, but 7s, I think, see something that has its own kind of life to it, and they want to pull that life out and expose it and even engage it and enjoy it in their heads. Not so much in their feelings the same way 4s would. 7s want to enjoy this mentally. And one of the things I consistently see in his films, and notice this list, is that they see a person or a set of people, high side 1, they want to improve their lot. And that means seeing the wonders that are there and like bringing them to light through story and engagement. And so Moscow on the Hudson, he is engaging and speaking for immigrants. Aladdin, he's clearly speaking to poor kids. Birdcage, he is speaking and engaging the queer community. Dead Poets, he is speaking to people without fathers who lack a family. Patch Adams, he is speaking to the sick. Awakenings, he is speaking to families of those who have severely neurodivergent family members. Good Will Hunting, he is engaging and speaking to confused males. Dreams May Come, he's speaking to the bereaved. We say this all the time, but 7s are Peter Pan. Hook, he is Peter fucking pan for us
Yeah.
in all of these films, and saying this is my role as an actor is to engage the places where I see depth of humanity and pain. And friends, take my hand, because we are leaving that world.
Yeah.
And in things where it shouldn't be, like TJ and you and I talk about Bicentennial Man a lot. Surprisingly, not surprisingly for us, but like just probably surprisingly for most people. But I think about that too. Like that is a movie where it's like, here's humanity where it shouldn't be, because it's about a goddamn robot who wants to be a human being. But like that movie is gorgeous. It's long, but it's
very long.
It's the stuff happening in it is beautiful, and particularly we didn't pull any of those moments for this, but there are scenes
tried. Man.
There's scenes with him and Oliver Platt that are just two brilliant, creative humans in a scene together that you should go watch.
I just because I have to, honorable mention to the scene of him, like an android who has made himself look like a human, sitting with Oliver Platt, who has helped him design and build all of these human parts, describing his understanding of sexual intercourse and what that coming together is like. And it's this beautiful poetry, like it's incredible. And they're just sitting there staring into the fire. And Robin Williams says, I want to experience that. And then Oliver Platt says, me too. It's so funny. Anywho.
Last words on Robin Williams as a hero, as a 7, before we jump into this sucker?
There's the things that we're talking about, but I think also the things that just make him a hero are the fact that he was a only child that was alone a lot, and I hate to say pulled himself up, but he did. Went to school, was brought back home, went out to school again, and was like, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to work really hard for it. That's heroic and profoundly admirable, and it didn't crush him. I mean, it did, but it did, like, you know, he's not Kevin Spacey or Bill Cosby or like that broken stuff didn't break other people.
Yeah.
Last word, Teach.
How much do you want me to say?
Let's just get into it.
To warn the affiliates we might be going long.
Yeah. All right, so I divided Williams' life up into 8 seasons. We're going to start with the late 70s. This is him arriving on the scene. This is energy. This is cocaine. This is Mork and Mindy. Some of the stuff going on here is him exploding onto this television show and being on the cover of Time magazine, and him as this comic that every comic, in the country knew about. And there's almost like a fear when you hear some of the comics. Like they were like, I showed up with my set and this guy went on, and I don't know why they continued. Like nobody was going to be able to follow that.
Yeah, he was, he's well known as like one of the people who is incomparable. There are a lot of stand-up that this is someone that everyone knows this name, like Richard Pryor, George Carlin. Like there are a lot of comedians, especially in stand-up, that like everyone knows about this person, but you can also see how they influence each other in different ways. And Robin Williams is one of those people who is that I don't know where that guy came from. Yep. He just goes.
We could do a whole series about Robin Williams. I could also do a whole series of podcasts just about like the history of comedy in general. Sure. So just tracing back comedically, the only human being that does what Robin Williams, quote, does, and I think Robin Williams even expanded upon and perfected the art form. The only person who is like that is a comedian named Jonathan Winters.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And Robin Williams talks... Yeah. And Robin Williams talks about Jonathan Winters similarly, kind of just, I'm thinking to what I said with seeing my dad laugh at Robin Williams. Robin Williams told a story about seeing Jonathan Winters on, I think it was The Tonight Show when Steve Allen hosted it, and they hand him a stick.
Yep.
He just talks about how his dad was laughing at that, and that like really hit him. And then you think there's a wonderful, if you watch Inside the Actor's Studio, where they just give him a scarf and he does like 10 minutes on the thing. It's like, man, he is the guy. But
he sees the possibility. Like Jonathan Winters opens up that door. This is what you can do.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. In the same way that like Jim Carrey, up until 10 years ago, is sort of a different and perfected Jerry Lewis. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, minus the like deep misogyny and, you know, everything else that Jerry Lewis brought with him. But yeah.
The Jonathan Winters with the stick, you know, it's like somebody gives him a stick, he pretends to fish with it, he pretends to be a blind man, he pretends all these things. Williams performed that same sketch on Sesame Street, which is a delight to watch.
Oh, Mr. Williams.
Elmo.
What are you going to do with that stick?
Oh, there's lots of things you can do with this stick, Elmo. Hey, maybe you can be playing hockey with it, like.
Yeah, I've been a goalie now for about 3 years, and it hasn't affected me. Maybe it could be like a baton. There you are, conducting a full orchestra. Thank you, Madonna, for that lovely lingerie melody.
Or it could be a cane. Well, Nancy and I are just happy to be here. Or you can play Pinocchio, the home game. I have 2 Academy Awards, Elmo. Stuff like that, you know, Elmo. Just simple things.
Whoa.
And you know, I told you what I'm going to do with this stick.
What?
I'm going to give it to you.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Robbins.
Mr. Robbins? Taking the stick back, Elmo.
The quickness of whomever is Elmo, whoever is being Elmo, to get that line wrong, let Robin Williams hit that joke, and then to pull Elmo down into the crate, and then put just just those ping pong ball eyes up, and even though they're ping pong balls, the shame is in there, and Elmo just says,
like the amount of stuff on the cutting room floor for Robin Williams is probably like exponentially larger than the stuff that we all got to see.
Chris Columbus said they could have made 3 different versions of Mrs. Doubtfire. Yeah. There was the PG version, there was the PG-13 version, the R version, and he said they could have made an NC-17 version.
Other big influence, he says, was Peter Sellers. And the number of characters Sellers plays in, I'm forgetting the name of the movie,
Dr. Strangelove.
Him being able to see Sellers play those different characters, it just, again, awakens something in him where it's like, I can do that. I know I can do those 2 things. Mash Winters and Sellers together with all that creativity. And he's rolling.
Which I think that's really interesting too, because you think about Peter Sellers' work, all with the exception, well, maybe not even. I would say maybe with the exception of Inspector Clouseau, but so many of Peter Sellers' characters have a really sad humanity to them as well. Like there's just like a longing for connection in Sellers' work and obviously in Sellers' life, which he really didn't have. That you want to talk about a tragic life. I think that's fascinating and makes perfect sense.
Letterman said of Williams when he saw him at these improv, there's only a couple big improv spaces in Los Angeles and New York that are just renowned. The best people are there. Letterman's at the one in LA. And he said, all I could do is hang on to the microphone for dear life. And here was a guy who could levitate.
Yeah.
And that encapsulates sports analogy. I mean, it's like the whole NBA is watching Michael Jordan fly, and you're just like, not sure we can compete with that. You know?
That's the guy from Space Jam?
That's right. Yeah. Very
just
famous
actor.
actor.
Yeah. Famous golfer turned actor.
Play baseball.
Cigar promotion specialist.
Had a little Hitler mustache for a while. Yeah, I remember that.
He's the tennis shoe guy.
Oh, right.
This is the episode, though. Like, all of us have that time, you know, where self-actualization happens. It happens hard for Williams. He is confronted with death. He's with another famous man, John Belushi, right before Belushi overdoses. And apparently it scared him so bad. Note the language here. He speaks a lot about fear and being scared after Belushi's death, and that moved him. And the Enneagram 7 emerges a lot in terms of his choices. At this time, he loses his show, Mork and Mindy. He has a movie, Popeye, one of the early IPs, but it apparently bombs.
It's not good.
Which is crazy.
Lots of really talented people.
Because everyone who references Popeye for like the last my whole life, everyone who references the character of Popeye is doing an impression of Robin Williams. Just saying.
Some of us saw it. I mean, this would be my hook. Is like I saw it when I was 6, and I'm like, this movie's amazing.
Yeah,
I love the story about after they shot it, an executive watched it, and they're like, "How come he's not opening his eye?" And Robin Williams was like, "Well, his name is Popeye. He's only got one eye." But no, I'm not going to open it.
Perfect.
He actually has a long stint without work after Popeye, and he goes through his first divorce. And in interviews, he's consistently referencing fear at this point in terms of what's going to happen next. What am I going to do? And so what he does is he goes back to stand up. And there's something, and I would love to cap it this section with, there's something about Sevens, and it's all like American comedy at this time, and he's at the forefront. And you see this in Saturday Night Live, the improvisational nature of comedy. Was it Chicago City?
Second City.
The elevation of improvisation in comedy, as opposed to jazz, which is improvisation in music, is just a huge movement at this time.
And is unwatchable. As opposed to improvisational comedy.
I don't know.
But he is the titan of that, like that time period. I mean, he's actually not part of Second City, and yet nobody competes with him on that. Like, here's a topic, go.
And I think some of that is, I think two things, and I've heard him talk about one of them. The fact that he is a Juilliard trained actor.
Yep.
Like, he's not just a guy picking up a microphone, and that's not to disparage guys that do that, because there's some brilliant people that have just picked up a microphone. Of course. But it's his breadth of training. David Steinberg is a big name in comedy. He's directed specials. He's had specials, blah, blah, blah. He used to have a show on TV Land. Remember TV Land, friends?
Yes.
Called Sit Down Comedy, where he would have different comedy legends come on and they would chat. And I remember seeing Robin Williams on there when I was in high school. And Robin told a story about when he was just starting out with stand-up, everybody had microphones and they played one club. And he said, for whatever reason was going on that night, the mics blew, the sound system blew, and like nobody had mics. And all these guys were like, I can't go on. And, you know, Williams kind of goes into a bit about being a trained actor. And he's like, I know how to project to the back row. And that's where he talked about finding that loud playing to the back row and continuing to move, because oftentimes you were in... you were in like projectile, right? You know that scene in Blues Brothers where they're throwing the bottles? Like, he said you were kind of in clubs like that. He's like, so you had to move around so they couldn't throw shit at you, and you also had to be loud enough to be heard if you didn't have a microphone. And he kind of developed that there. And I also think it's just he just seemed deeply curious about everything, about religions, about languages, about science. And I think you can't be that if you don't have the training, but then also the interest in consuming knowledge and information.
His aversion to being bored is one of those things where this is loving people like you want to be loved. My audience doesn't want to be bored. You know what's not boring is me going into the audience and climbing the balcony and doing my bits from up there. Like, people are like, you know, what is this going to be? And again, we use the analogy of the jumping monkey for Enneagram 7s, and that's not meant to be derogatory, but it's meant to be like there's such energy sometimes that comes forth in terms of it's not pay attention to me because I want attention. It's pay attention to me because we're on an adventure, and let's not mess around. Let's elevate to these spaces that are desirable and enjoyable together.
I forgot his first comedy. Sorry, TJ.
And thinking about that, like you mentioning the like speaking to the back of the room kind of thing, like there's also, it's not just his training, but it's also his sevenness. That means that the issues that might halt someone else in that position will not stop him from doing what he's there to do. It's not just the fact that he has theatrical training. It's also that he will be the one to go up on stage when the mics break down and say, I'll take care of this.
Right.
Like that is part of his person, and it comes from his sevenness of being able to adapt. It's similar to Threes in a way that like they will adapt to whatever they need to become to be successful. But his is, I will adapt to whatever problems are happening so that I can move the audience forward. that's part of his improv brain as well.
It's also the case. Notice that's a stressful situation. When a mic breaks, and notice this may be one of those places we can name high side one. Like the 7 is going into a space where they're using their considerable talents of energizing the room, but at their heart, they're pushing into that. I need to improve this situation.
Yeah.
And
I have watched a 3 in a performance stop the performance because it was not going the way it was supposed to.
Yeah.
It's like, we're going to stop, we're going to restart so that we can get on our feet the right way.
Right.
And a 7 will be like, stick and move. We're going to just keep on going. And like,
Ophelia didn't drown, kids. Let's start over. That's amazing.
It's real common in terms of comparing 3s and 7s. It's real common in sports for athletes to be 3s who, when they know they're out of their league with their competition, will give up. And will actually just mail it in and like fake an injury, or just in essence, on the playing field, just not try. They can say later, look, at the end there, we just gave up. I didn't really try, because they didn't want to be embarrassed anymore. 7's not going to do that.
A 7 is going to break his leg in the middle of the performance and then keep on playing.
Yeah.
Like Dave Grohl is another great example of that.
Football player, right? Dave Grohl?
Yeah. Yep.
So good. He arrives. He is a force. Things don't go well. Real similar to Spielberg here, by the way. Has huge success and then has a crash. Like 1941 and Popeye feel very similar in terms of their effect. What ends up happening for Williams is he actually turns towards drama. He's doing the stand-up. But in terms of films, World According to Garp, 82, Moscow on the Hudson, 84. And then he figures it out and puts it all together in 87 with Good Morning Vietnam. They're dramatic and the comedy coming together. There's the two masks, as it were. But that's where it seems to me he really finds his sweet spot on film. Thoughts about this period?
I think World According to Garp is a fabulous movie. Just a deeply human, sad movie about like what it means to be alive and disappointed. And Robin Williams is fantastic in it, but also like Glenn Close is his mom in that movie, and John Lithgow is his friend. Like that cast is incredible. I've never read the book that it's based off of, so I have no idea how the book is. But Good Morning Vietnam is a movie that is incredibly influential to me in terms of approaching being funny, but also thinking about art. And I think Barry Levinson wrote and directed that. I think it's not a perfect movie. I think you could cut about 30 minutes out of it, but it's a brilliant movie. And you're not seeing a lot of movies like that get made at the time. Yeah, and it's one of the first films that figured out how to use him the right way.
Yes. Yeah. Let me set up Good Morning Vietnam, because our first scene that we're going to talk about is from Good Morning Vietnam. In terms of Williams' 7ness and heroism, I think it's on display here for the first time. And I'm going to go into a very tragic, troubling situation. And I'm going to pull people into a space that's better, that's more enjoyable. It's mostly through their thoughts. I'm not going to stop this war. But I can engage your mind, and I can pull you into different spaces. I can ridicule and might make fun of things that are really horrifying at times, and yet spin them in a way where, at least for a minute, you can laugh. And is it Roger Cronauer?
Adrian Cronauer.
Coming in, and just from like that, and we have it at the introduction to our movie typing, like him coming on that microphone.
Hey, this is not a test. This is rock and roll. Time to rock it from the Delta to the DMZ. Is that me, or does that sound like an Elvis Presley movie?
Good Morning Vietnam is a door opening to a different world. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm meeting you where you're at in a very anxiety-filled space, and I'm going to grab you by the shirt and pull you elsewhere for a minute. And that is a like, it's not just heroic, but that's a superhero. That's Superman coming in to save the day when an explosion happens to protect the little girl, as it were.
I think that character becomes increasingly more and more aware of that as the film goes on. I think as that film starts, he's there to do a funny radio show, and he's very flippant and disrespectful to just phenomenal supporting performance by Bruno Kirby in that movie as that mid-level general that just hates everything he's doing. It's just such a hard job to do in that film. And how, to me, it's such a Robin Williams thing, this sort of mischievous twinkle in his eye, and he's really mocking that dude hardcore to his face, but the guy is charmed and flattered by it.
Yes.
And the higher up brass are delighted by it and think he's wonderful. To me, that if you had to come up with like a quintessential Robin Williams film character, it's that guy.
Yeah.
But as that film goes on, and as he sees what Vietnam really is, as he befriends Vietnamese people, as he gets lost in the middle of a war zone, really starts to see and realize what's going on, and also how he's showing up, what he needs to show up, and what he needs to do. And I think it's beautiful.
Great.
Well, I think also the sort of meta level commentary that movie embodies is like, it's not just commentary on the Vietnam War, but it's also like there is a sense of us as an audience sort of being drawn into this thing. Like, I wasn't alive during the Vietnam War. I know people who fought over there, but there is no real connection for me to it. So when we talk about it, I think about it historically. I don't think about it like it was happening. And this movie is a great opportunity to sort of be drawn into it from my perspective and to still experience it in a similar way. Mm-hmm. And that's part of what great entertaining is for someone to draw you into a story and then move you along that story so you can see it better and appreciate it more. And yeah, that's one of the things that he is. It is the movie doing the work, but he is sort of like the point of connection for us into that story, and I'm sure that there's a lot of people who lived through that time period that were able to connect to what happened in a different kind of way, in a broader and perhaps even not detached, but a way to see it from a perspective that helps adjust to what happened, right?
Now it holds up really well. If you want to talk about, I think, censorship, if you want to talk about the desire to control and censor people who are really not doing anything inappropriate. Actually, they're like bringing people joy, and how there's some people that are just so bothered by the fact that there are people that some people want to listen to and excite and encourage people. And like one of the best quotes in that movie is when one of the guys like, I don't want to be there when he broadcasts top secret military operations to the world. And somebody's like, that would never happen. And it's like, right, yeah, you got to wait 55 years for that to happen, and then people accidentally text it out.
Nobody ever does that.
Not a problem in
hypothetically speaking.
Government, apparently. It's twofold on that front. It's that you're a disruptor. The Sevens can be, and this can be the heroic side. They disrupt very stagnant pawns that really shouldn't have the power that they have, through mockery. There is a Will Rogers element. I remember hearing Jon Stewart be asked, it was by Fox News, he's on Fox News, and they said, well, we think that you want to be a political player. And he's like, no, me at my best self, I'm Will Rogers. You at your best self are something fundamentally different. I'm here to expose through humor and elevate human consciousness to what we could be. And you're interested in positioning your pieces for maximum effect, and that makes us different. Because the Fox News, Wallace was interviewing him and essentially saying, you and I are the same person. I have a Sunday morning show. You have your weekly comedy thing, but we both want the same things. And it seems to me that's who Robin Williams is. It is my job isn't to entrench. My job isn't to acquire assets. Sevens don't do that. Sevens don't build castles. Sevens are moving And they, especially when you get in their way with dysfunctional bureaucratic systems, the Seven is the hero that enters those systems and tears them apart, not with guns, but with mockery.
Yeah. Which is also something they can very easily pick up from one. There's a judgmentalism that lives in that stress place that, when handled appropriately, can be very useful.
That's it. So it brings up Daniel's first scene. Now that we're an hour and a half into this sucker.
See how much money we raised.
The first scene, I think, really illustrates the heroism of the Seven. Williams is doing his job as a Seven, but when you punch, sometimes you get punched back. And Seven's being discouraged by things not going their way. Sevens, alongside fours and ones, can be frustrated when their ideals aren't met. And that's clearly a space that he ends up entering. He wants to do something in this world and yet is thwarted. And Whitaker's character, what's his first name?
Forrest Whitaker.
And Forrest Whitaker's character, who's kind of this nerdy, bumbling assistant.
Whose name is Edward Montesquieu Garlic. I'm serious. In that, awesome. And when he meets, that's the first thing Robin Williams says to him is like, well, first thing, Corporal, you need to requisition a new name. It's brilliant.
He is routinely the object. He's incompetent throughout until this moment where he grabs Williams, throws him in a car, and Robin Williams is used to speaking into a microphone to thousands of people, but he doesn't know the people. He's not really seeing their faces. And Whitaker takes him into this space where he knows a couple hundred men are about to go into war zones. He's like, I want you to see these people.
Hey, guys. Guess who the hell I got in here?
Uh-oh, don't do this shit.
Hey, Curly. Come on. Guess again.
Bag it, Garlic.
The fellow I got in here is the gentleman, the one and the only
dead man.
king of the airways, Adrian Cronauer.
Hey, Peterson, get up here, man. I think we got Cronauer here. Hey, Cronauer, say good morning, Vietnam.
Oh, give me a break, man. It's too hot for radio shit, okay?
Come on.
Come on.
How do we know it's Adrian Cronauer?
Okay. I'll give it the best shot.
Good morning, Vietnam! Hi, this is Adrian Cronauer. I'm on at 6 o'clock and again at 4. Hey, we'd like to welcome you to Vietnam, the country that is more stimulating than a strong cup of cappuccino or an espresso enema. There's a little news flash coming your way right now. We can't afford the teletype. Here's coming for you right now. Quick news flash. Former President Eisenhower, actually cartoon character Elmer Fudd. He was quoted as saying, "Thank you, America. It was fun being president." Also, Gina Lollobrigida has been declared the Italian national mountain range. Thank you, Gina. Look out. I don't see the sun anymore. Let's play a little game show while we're waiting, and if who can tell me who sang the song My Guy? Hi, where are you from?
Boston.
Boston, you know who sang the song My Guy?
Yeah, shit, I can't think of it.
Thank you for playing! Yeah, shit, I can't think of it. That's right. You don't win the case of fish balls and lizard testicles. Thank you for playing anyway. Here it is right now. Hey, what's your name?
Patrick O'Malley.
He needs to hear the applause. He needs to hear the feedback. He needs to hear, you've made a difference to me.
Well, I think it's not even necessarily, I wouldn't necessarily say it's about the applause. It's about recognizing that there needs to be some kind of acknowledgement that other people have been taken along the journey.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I see in a lot of sevens, especially ones who struggle, is that part of what they are struggling with is that they don't know that other people are along with them, that other people have been moved, that it's oftentimes that they see themselves as the dancing monkey and nobody's going to take care of them. Nobody's going to be the one who takes, nobody's going to step into their hard places and take care of them. And this is a moment for this seven where it's not about the applause. It's about the fact that other people have been brought along on the thing that he was doing.
Yeah. Well said. And again, biographical. I think we talked quite a bit about Billy Crystal in his life, and that's exactly right. Like, it's for many of us who are on stage, and I sometimes say this on our podcast. I'm sure that Daniel can sympathize with it. Sometimes you are breaking yourself open, pouring yourself out, and I can't experience what's going on in the heart of my audience. I have no idea if it's doing any good. The only thing I can see is metrics on my computer sometimes of how many people listen. That doesn't say anything about quality. There's a bunch of television shows that get 100 times as many viewers as we do that are dog shit. Who knows if what we do is worthwhile, you know? Yeah. And this is one of the joys, I think, and perhaps one of the hardships of being someone who presents content that you hope really moves the heart of individuals, is just getting a chance to have the curtains pulled back and to see somebody authentically say, what you do matters.
Yeah.
And that's that scene for me.
And just to, since we're talking about Robin both on stage and on screen and also in real life, I think it's so great that in the later parts of his life, he spent so much time entertaining the troops in real life. Right. He would do USO shows with Lewis Black in sort of a, Jeff, you compared him to Will Rogers a moment ago, but that part of his life kind of makes me think of Bob Hope, where, Bob Hope for most of his life never spent a Christmas with his family because he was always overseas entertaining the troops. And I think that his experience in Good Morning Vietnam pushed him to that. So you could just see like that wanting to, you can't invite people into better spaces, but you can go into those spaces and make things better, and how much he just wanted to show up for. You hear soldiers tell stories and it's like he shows up and he takes a picture with every single person. There's a video of him doing that, and they're taking a picture, and then something happens and he stops and he looks at the guy and he's like, "Boss, did you get that picture you want?" Like, he's just so intentional about that. And I think that's amazing. And began every one of those, no matter where he was in these, Middle Eastern countries, with a version of Good Morning wherever he was. And it's just, it's perfect.
An average, like most sevens are a lot of sevens are very entertaining people. The heroic seven is going to entertain people who need it.
I think we will get into more of Williams' self-consciousness as an icon who brings a value and meaning into the spaces he enters, especially later on. Worth naming that. That's going to be part of kind of his later life as heroic. There are some people, I want to say that I've heard something from his dad. Like, his dad was a builder of cars, through the Ford Motor Company. And when you build cars, these are physical and they do things. And you get in there with a blowtorch and here is steel. And Robin Williams, and we'll see this in a lot of his characters, is not building anything that's physical. He's building experiences, and he's building things with words. And there is if you get rid of that element of humanity, which is really common for people who just build things, to not understand that a lot of the meaning and value of life comes from those of us who invest all of ourselves in constructing things that we can't see, but you can only feel and experience and think about.
Yeah. He's building people.
He's building their inner life. Yeah. Hey, go check out the Around the Circle podcast. So
there's a great Muppet Christmas Carol episode.
It's true. High point there. Speaking of high points.
For me.
1988 to 1994, this is the high point, it seems to me, of his work in terms of this is where his artistic achievements strike me as like, Good Morning Vietnam launches him into this space. And there is a dual element of the work that he does personally through comic relief and the movies that he's creating at this period, which are Dead Poets Society, Awakenings, and Fisher King. We can talk about whether or not those ought to be considered like the high point. But for me, he is arguably one of the most famous people in the country doing some of the best work of his life. Again, Daniel, you put down as our second thing we wanted to highlight as clips is his work with Comic Relief. When you think of Comic Relief and Williams' work, what comes to your mind?
The first thing is Community, which is a little weird, but the community and the friendship of Robin and Billy Crystal and Whoopi Goldberg, how they became so close and like siblings during that process, and to hear both of them talk about losing Robin. There's a clip of Billy Crystal on The View shortly after Robin passes away where Whoopi tries to bring it up and they both just fall apart. It's so hard to watch. But the friendship that they built during that, and then just the community of inviting other comedians in for a good cause to fight. I mean, like, what is a better cause than to fight homelessness, right? Particularly in like the 80s and 90s, I feel like there's so much conversation about like, well, we can't help homeless people because what about the... I'm like, great. So now these people in Hollywood, the people everyone wants to talk about are being disconnected from everything. They're fighting to eliminate homelessness in a time where we really needed it too. Like we do again now, but like, I mean, it was bad, late 80s, early 90s.
And it was clearly in the pendulum swinging back the other way against Reaganism and how the mindset of the 80s often went.
Yeah.
And standing on stage and advocating for those who can't speak for themselves is, again, just a heroic move.
Yeah. In my mind, there's three types of people who would do something like Comic Relief. Narcissists who are just wanting to get a, like, who want to perform no matter what the circumstances. Yeah. People who didn't really realize what they were getting into because they're starting their career this is just one of the steps in their career. And then people like Robin Williams, who is, I can do something important with the thing that I'm naturally good at.
And that's it. It's like, what do you have to give? And he absolutely crushes that pitch.
Yeah.
They would
use another sports metaphor. Sorry, guys.
Crushes the pitch. I've heard him and Billy Crystal tell the stories about how, they would raise the money from Comic Relief, and then they've both told stories about going and giving people those checks.
Yes.
Those are like, okay, if you do not cry, like joy cry when you hear those stories, you're made out of stone. Like, those are beautiful moments. And it was the thing, because of his work with Comic Relief, Robin Williams moving forward, and I think they really started doing it on The Fisher King because they shot in New York. Robin Williams would insist that, I can't remember how much of a percentage of the productions of films that he worked on, the crew was made up of people experiencing homelessness. So they could have a steady job for 4, 5, 6 months of film money and then try to put their lives together. And that's who else does that? I mean, we all should be, I guess is the answer, but
that takes the ability to observe. It takes creativity, and above all, it requires your heart to be in a place that's incredibly healthy, to say this is going to be a value for our production,
and sort of like boots on the ground, something that actually works.
Yeah.
Like that's something from the like moving into that one space is like you have the creativity of this idea and there are so many big ideas that somebody like there's a world full of people who have big ideas about how to help people who are experiencing homelessness.
Yeah.
And there is a special place just like this sliver of a path of someone who can choose something that is immediately practicable.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's so practical. It's so getting the job done that like this is just him doing the work.
One of the things that I consistently am aware of in present day political strategy is how badly progressives are communicating their ideals through shame.
Mm-hmm.
Americans don't respond to shame. We don't want to be shamed, one, and two, it lacks power. And all it does is create opposition.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Williams doesn't make that mistake.
Yeah.
Comic Relief is getting people together who are amazingly talented, amazingly funny, and reminding people that there are some folks who are war vets, who are who have like mental issues that can be addressed, but requires just a few bucks to do so. And there are folks who are out there who, have kids and are living in cars and just need a little bit to get them over the top. If you shame people into saying, hey, you need to help such people, they repel that. And that's in it, like, as opposed to so many of the mistakes that I routinely see today, which I'll make fun of and shame all day long if I am given the microphone, because I'm really not good at changing people's minds.
Deservedly so. That shit deserves to be shamed. The stuff you're talking about now.
It does. But in terms of practicality,
yes.
In terms of getting people from here today, it doesn't work. And Williams doesn't make that mistake. And that's why that work really was helpful. My mom is as conservative as anyone you will meet. Her dog was named Dixie, and she gave money because her kid got really into this, and she got captured in the moment. And I'm not trying to disparage my mom and her bad choices of animal naming, but you see where I'm going.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah. We keep saying Robin Williams' work is about acknowledging the humanity in himself and the characters, but I think so much of who Robin Williams was about recognizing other people's humanity. And that is the thing. You're interacting with people experiencing homelessness. You are meeting them. You're looking them in the face. You're doing this for them. And it's not, sorry, all these bad choices you've made have put you in here. It is looking people in the eye and saying, you matter. We're doing this for you because we want to help you and acknowledge the humanity in who you are, and you just need help, but we're just people.
Yeah.
And it's also just to just briefly say, because it wasn't a film or like a structured thing, it's some of the best places to go to see just unchecked Robin Williams craziness.
Yeah.
He has, when he has the stage for 6 minutes there, it's fifth gear.
And just to watch him with Whoopi and Billy too, like I think it's Comic Relief. It's whatever Comic Relief they did when they were making toys, because he's got really long blonde hair, but it takes them 10 minutes to intro the show because he hadn't done stand-up in a long time and he was back in front of a live audience. So poor Billy Crystal is trying to start the show, and Robin is just going. And then finally they look at each other and Robin Williams just bows to him, and Billy Crystal's like, no, go ahead. Do your dick jokes.
Get it all out.
That's exactly right. Again, the heroism, I want to just put special note, is like stepping into those spaces of pain, offering his hand, and let's go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Last word on Comic Relief. For me, I mentioned that I did speech and debate. Like one of the individual events I did, I pulled out Billy Crystal does a 5-minute sketch of a homeless man who's lost his legs in the Vietnam War. And that was something that I was really connected with that, performed it, took it to state. It was an important part of just me doing something on my own. Speech-wise, was real proud of it. And of all things, performed that at my senior high school talent show. Didn't get to do the George Carlin. Started with Comic Relief, ended with Comic Relief doing the Billy Crystal Vietnam veteran speech. Capstone of my high school career.
Just to just say altruistically, while Comic Relief doesn't really happen in the United States anymore, it was started in the UK by a filmmaker and writer named Richard Curtis, who has been connected to a lot of really wonderful shows, including but not limited to the film Love Actually. Wrote it, directed it. Comic Relief is still very much an organization that is still around and still doing really good things, and you can still give them money. Not to like do this, but just to say that organization still exists and is still very much worthy of support.
Well, worth saying. In fact, not to make this self-serving, but to make it like genuine, food insecurity in our city is very high. The most effective organization I've ever seen at getting people food who need it is the Greeley
Weld County Food Bank.
Just here's a promise. Whatever month this is, for anyone who signs up for a membership at aroundthecircle.org, it's $20 a month. I promise you, I'll take your first $20 and I'll give it entirely to the Weld County Food Bank. So you can sign up for a month, get all of our stuff for free. Just download it really, really fast. Your $20 will go to feed homeless people, and you'll get everything that we've created online for free, and would be thrilled to do that in the memory with a huge bow to the great Robin Williams and for his continuing work in our hearts and lives.
Love that.
How's that sound, TJ? You down with that?
I'm totally down with that.
Bang.
This is how we make business decisions. Jeff pitches something, and I go, yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
Somebody who knows both these guys off mic can confirm.
Yep.
My ideas are always so just spot on point, filled with wisdom. What is there to debate?
Exactly.
Just pings.
Yeah.
Just pings true. Dead Poets, 1989. Remember seeing this at the $1 theater in our town. And I heard somebody say that this is a sports movie for English majors. And that connected with me.
It is a little bit like Rudy.
It starts with the coach. We're building a team. Tragedy strikes. And we push towards there is a victorious concluding scene.
Everyone quotes Walt Whitman because I mean, like Rocky, that happens.
I love it. That's amazing. Oh my!
They're out on a soccer field. That was the cover of the VHS jacket.
The thing about Williams is he went to an all-male private school in Michigan prior to high school. And so he's used to this kid, this person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to dismiss, given our culture, affluent, young, white males in a private school.
They don't all carry
But
tiki
these
torches.
people
It's
matter
fine.
and have issues. And this is just a gorgeous little snapshot into the lives of real human beings and, in the state of affairs that they find themselves in.
I remember watching that movie as a kid or young person, and then I still watch it now as an adult, but that movie as a kid and also seeing it around there's a Kevin Kline movie called Emperor's Club that's also a gorgeous movie that is kind of similar, but not. I remember watching both of those movies with my mom, who is she's retired now, but she was an educator for 40 years. And I remember after Good Will Hunting ended and we had just watched The Emperor's Club, my mom made the observation that she was like, no movies about good educators end in ways that aren't profoundly sad.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what it is about that, but it just stayed. It's like carved itself into my brain.
You have to graduate. It's ending. Like you're both learning the lesson, and this time of your life is ending, and something's released. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think both of those movies end with the teachers having to kind of step away in situations where they maybe didn't want to, having to step away from what they're doing. So I think that aspect of it is what she's commenting on. But yes,
lover of this film. I feel like it's to move back to what I said earlier. It's a breaking yourself open, pouring yourself out, and feeding those who are going to live on. There's a Charlotte's Web kind of element here where...
And that speaks pretty significantly to the fact of being a teacher. Like, I'm not exactly a teacher, but I have very intentionally sort of like chosen a life in a community that is transient. That is like people come to Greeley for 4 years and then they leave unless they get sucked into the vortex. And being intentionally in that space where it's a new batch every year and like you interact with someone so significantly for this limited amount of time, and then the goal is that they move, that they leave. Mm-hmm. That is, it's part of being a teacher.
Love that as an image here. If we had done Robin Williams through a film, I would have chosen this one. I just want to highlight a couple scenes and quotes, but you all will be familiar with some of these quotes if you've seen the movie.
No matter what anybody tells you, words and ideas can change the world.
It's a very just Seven-ish kind of place to live.
Yeah.
We don't read and write poetry because it's cute. We read and write poetry because we are members of the human race. And the human race is filled with passion. Medicine, law, business, engineering, these are noble pursuits and necessary to sustain life. But poetry, beauty, romance, love, these are what we stay alive for.
It's again the seven who is not processing through action. They are processing through thinking.
Yeah.
What is accomplished is really important, but who you are, what you become, like elevating the human soul, this is what matters.
The powerful play goes on, and you may contribute a verse. What will your verse be?
The seeking to communicate to somebody And this would be at a time where, you know, in 21st century culture, so much is subjective and you're special, and it gets mocked in Fight Club as you're a little snowflake. But in 1959 culture, individualism is not the thing. Right. And being able to say, like, your life matters needs to be said boldly in those spaces.
Yeah.
See, there's a time for daring, and there's a time for caution. And a wise man understands which is called for.
This is a scene where one of his students gets up in the middle of a very solemn event with a telephone and says that God's calling, and that God says that we need to allow women on the campus of our all-boys private school. And Williams says, this isn't my teaching. This isn't the way to break life open and eat the marrow inside.
But in that scene, I also love that as he's about to leave, he doesn't just break the kid down.
Yes.
As he's about to leave, he stops. He's like,
phone call from God. If it had been collect, that would have been daring.
Yes.
It's just so good.
Well, and there's a thing here about it takes a special kind of person to acknowledge and sort of encourage the idea while also discouraging the practice.
Yes.
Like that is a very fine line to walk, and good teachers can really help move people in that way. And I think this is one of the things that perhaps sevens have very clear access to it, is to be able to say, that was awesome. Don't do it like that in the future. It was great. Like there's a sense of like real encouragement about the thing behind what you actually did.
Yeah.
Without fully denigrating what you did.
Watching that movie, and even watching that is one of the Robin Williams movies that I struggle to go back to post losing him. It's just hard to watch that and Hook. I can't. And even watching the two clips that I watched and submitted for this, I was like, I gotta do something else now. But that movie and that character and those ideas just say so much to my, particularly as a young person, my like little four brain. Of the scene in the courtyard where they're talking about conformity, and he has the kids start walking, and then, you know, he sees it at that moment, and he talks about find your own path, find your own way, don't conform. And then the idea of like, many of you were saying I would have walked differently, but ask yourselves, why were you clapping? And just all that stuff. It just that movie has meant a lot to me over the years.
Yeah.
Poetry, beauty, romance, love. These are what we stay alive for. Worthy word for our culture that so often is focused on quantity as opposed to quality.
Yep.
So often is interested in maximizing the assets that our altogether rich nation have for the sake of more quantity, and completely dismissing the quality of the lives of human beings. And we make a tragic misstep here. And it's worth just naming, we're not here for quantity. We're here to have these sorts of experiences. And the seven, more than any, again, just ripping open that world. Come into this world and see what you can experience. Again, Robin Williams as a prophet in these spaces.
Yeah. But and particularly like giving us the opportunity to highlight the average to unhealthy seven has a problem with quantity. The healthy, mature, even heroic seven understands that it's about quality.
Yep.
And sevens can very easily represent both ends of that spectrum.
That's a great word. So both Daniel and I love this film and submitted scenes out of it, but the one that he put special emphasis on was the Carpe Diem scene, which for those of you who have seen the movie, you will remember him leading the kids out of the classroom. Notice how often Peter Pan is saying, take my hand, we're going somewhere else. You know, it's don't remain in your seats, jump up on the table. Don't remain in your seats, we're going out into the hallway. You have looked at these pictures 1,000 times, but have you ever really looked at them?
They're not that different from you, are they? Same haircuts, full of hormones, just like you. Invincible, just like you feel. The world is their oyster. They believe they're destined for great things, just like many of you. Their eyes are full of hope, just like you. Did they wait until it was too late to make from their lives even one iota of what they were capable? Because you see, gentlemen, These boys are now fertilizing daffodils.
And that it's, again, kind of a quality image here. It's not that live a long life, lads. No, his message is seize the day. And it hits some of the students and it doesn't hit some of the students, but that's the entry point. That's like the first day of class.
And when he says to them, make your lives extraordinary, that's amazing. Like, just watch that. I don't think anybody's ever said that to me as a human, now as an adult or as a kid. Nobody, I have a friend who makes art and theater for little kids. And in one of the things that they made, it ended by telling a group of kids, like, hey, just so you know, you're all artists. And I went and saw that, and I'm like a 36-year-old man in the back. I just immediately started crying, and I talked to them later, and I was like, I don't think anybody ever, until I was like well into and almost out of high school, I don't think anybody was ever like, you're an artist, you should like live an extraordinary life, you should. It just like really hit me. And that's how I feel about that scene too, where I'm like, damn, people don't tell people to do things like that. And that's why that's so profound, should be profound for educators to say to young people.
Another just influence. I'm very aware from this movie of what it looked like to be a teacher. And so I taught philosophy for 15 years. One of the rules, ironclad in my heart, was your first day can't be boring. And so often we come, like in college classes, you go in, here's the syllabus, let me talk about the legalese of our class. And this is the first reading. I'll see you next Wednesday. Never. You know how to read. Here's the syllabus. Let me take you, I'm going to spend 20 minutes and make you feel like you have purchased value, was the only thing in my mind and heart. And the reason that that's where I went was because of this scene, was all these teachers, agrocolas, and him taking them into the hallway and saying, let's talk about what it's about, kids.
And I think there's, like, coming back to the spectrum of sevenness, I think there's also the perspective, the idea that nothing matters, so make now count.
Yeah.
When we went around the circle and did this same idea, but with villains, like we talked about the Joker as a 7 villain, and part of what that is that, like, the nihilism that can exist within sevenness, there is a healthy version of that. There is a really useful and valuable version of that same kind of thing that wants to burn the whole world down, is to say that all of these kids are fertilizer.
Yeah.
So what does your life mean? Yeah. Like there is something profound and meaningful that comes from the heart of the 7 to be able to say that, to be able to recognize that and communicate it in a way that matters.
And the connection to community that's in it too. Like the line, the powerful play goes on and you may contribute a verse. It's not saying what is your monologue going to be, what's your solo going to be. It's just this beautiful, like, contribute a thing to this thing that's going to continue. It continued before you were here. It's going to continue after you were here.
Yep.
But join it. Please be part of it because it's fantastic.
So is everyone else. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Second and 3 seasons actually build on that idea that the 7 have an ability to see the structures that are obstacles, that are even oppressive. On the villainous side, the Joker wants to blow them up.
Right.
He's the arsonist. And the arsonist way of coming to these structures is hyper destructive and it lacks humanity. The way that Mr. Keating comes to the structures, second day of class, everyone shows up with their homework. They have read the first chapter by Dr. J. Evans Pritchard, PhD, about what poetry is. They read through the beginning of it. Williams immediately turns everything upside down and says the structures that you think are in place are going to be shattered and you're free to be something else by simply saying
excrement. That's what I think of Mr. J. Evans Pritchard. We're not laying pipe. We're talking about poetry. I mean, how can you describe poetry like American Bandstand? Well, I like Byron. I give him a 42, but I can't dance to him. Now, I want you to rip out that page. Go on. Rip out the entire page.
Not only does this scene have a fantastic callback in the last scene where the guy who is, the principal comes in and says, well, let's read one of my favorite essays here at the beginning by Dr. James F. Pritchard. It's been ripped out, sir.
And then Rick Astley is like, no, that's not there.
It's been ripped out of all of them, sir. But yeah, you have nothing holding you back. Think for yourselves, as it were, in the best ways. And don't be constrained, and actually go for value in a different kind of way that isn't just putting things on a pie chart.
Mm-hmm. And there's like a Puck, Midsummer Night's Dream Puck, like as he's in there collecting his stuff and leaving as that happens, you see that little kind of smirk and twinkle in his eye in that moment as he's leaving. It's just kind of beautiful.
Yeah.
I didn't put that together, but of course, Midsummer Night's Dream is the play that's performed in the middle.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that Wilson from House, I can't think of his real name, but plays Puck.
Yeah.
And that's another, just those examples of those characters mirroring real life. Ethan Hawke tells some stories about, he's an aspiring actor. He wants to whatever, and he's struggling to find work. And like Robin Williams called an agent and said, I'm in this movie with this kid. You should look at this kid. Like Josh Charles has a story like that. They've all got stories about how he was that guy for them in that movie. And it's just like, he's obviously picking these roles for a reason, man. Maybe not premeditated, like I'm going to go in and help some kids, but it is just wild that in the roles that he plays, he kind of
not
becomes that.
Yeah.
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 I mean, it's Ethan Hawke before Ethan Hawke too.
Yeah.
Like Ethan Hawke is nothing like this character really in anything else he does.
Right.
And and you kind of need somebody to say, actually, this kid's got talent. Not that he doesn't have it here, but it might not be on display here in the way that we see in other films. Last image for me is the table scene. We could talk about the Ethan Hawke poetry Walt Whitman scene as well, which is just great. But the table scene for me has special relevance in that, again, breaking the rules as a 7. Again, the spaces don't matter as a 7. Just as he does in Stand Up, climbing up into the balcony, here he's up on a table saying, and then inviting others, pulling others by the hand up on top of the same table. Yeah. Let's go on an adventure. Let's see things different.
Disruptors.
It's mental.
Yep.
All of that 7 activity.
Yeah. The leap into the unknown, off the edge.
Why do I stand up here? Anybody?
To feel taller.
No. Thank you for playing, Mr. Dalton. I stand upon my desk to remind myself that we must constantly look at things in a different way. See, the world looks very different from up here. You don't believe me? Come see for yourselves. Come on. Come on. Just when you think you know something, you have to look at it in another way, even though it may seem...
He asks them to call him, "Oh, Captain, my Captain," because it's like calling him Coach. It's a name of authority. And are you going to follow my way of teaching? Are you going to do the things I say you should do on the field? And that becomes the question. Does he have that role in the minds and hearts? And of course, that's how the whole film culminates.
Right.
Are you going to do as I did? So how is that showcased?
Down, Mr. Anderson. One more outburst from you or anyone else, and you're out of this school. Lead, Mr. Keating.
We zero in on the most terrified of the students, who has a ton to lose because he just doesn't look like he has what it takes at all. And if he gets kicked out, where do you go?
Right.
His family doesn't look to be as affluent as the rest of the families, but he's the one.
Captain, my Captain. Sit down, Mr. Anderson.
There's a lot to say, and we will throughout this whole series, about the things that we can gain from other people at their best, like thinking about like the strength that is offered by eights, and how we are encouraged to like stand up in by the fact of strong people encouraging us to do that. Like we can go around the circle and do that, and there is a sense of like what is offered by this person and trying to get other people to see from a different perspective, to take hold of their one and only life. Like there is this ending scene is obviously the culmination of all of that, but there's something gained from someone saying it's okay to want to live. It's okay to want things. It's okay to not conform in this way that like it, and it's not even the same as like a 4 might offer the opportunity to be true to yourself, but this isn't about being true to him. This is about doing something important when it matters. And there's a real sense of the strength, but also the invitation to try something scary, to try something new, to try something that might get you kicked out of school because your life is more important than that.
Last word on Dead Poets Society?
First Academy Award nomination for him in that movie. Didn't win, but first Academy Award nomination. That's not nothing.
Was he not nominated? He wasn't nominated for. He won the Golden Globe for Good Morning Vietnam. Apparently.
I can't remember. I don't think he
that was in my notes, but
that is because I think that movie is such a straightforward comedy, even though there's dramatic stuff in it. I don't know if it would have gotten nominated for an Academy Award, because comedy is easy because you watch it and it's so fun and it looks effortless. So why would you award that? Because it's harder than drama, because if the comedy's not good, it's quiet. If the drama's good, it's also quiet, which is what, like, you know, Melissa McCarthy being nominated for Bridesmaids, which is a huge deal because it's like one of the few times the Academy has recognized comedy. That and like Kevin Kline in A Fish Called Wanda.
Fair. I'm going to wrap up this movie and perhaps our first episode here on Robin Williams. We'll pick this up next time, but I heard that following his death, the UN general, in order to communicate singular importance to all the nations who had assembled, decided to stand on the podium at the UN, and both in honoring of Robin Williams and in advocacy of the lessons at hand, stood on the podium and said, we need to dare to look at things in a different way. Just, again, the movement outward of great heartedness, passionately put into artwork, breaking yourself open, pouring yourself out, no guarantees, and yet creating ripples that influence many who are seeking to do something great with their lives, and even better, to do something good with their lives.
Yeah, have been often very moved by, even in death, like obviously his body of work is still very entertaining, but the amount of people who took this opportunity to say, oh, we need to be better about talking about mental health. His death was so inspiring in that way, that because he gave us so much, that it was sort of like it's almost disrespectful to his memory to do anything but acknowledge that some people struggle and some people need more help, and we are not doing enough to help people in their mental health.
We're going to pick that up in two different ways in our next episode, because we're going to start with talking about Fisher King and Awakenings and his work there.
Yeah.
Lots to say about Robin Williams' own struggles at the end, which are often miscategorized, but it is the case, the amount of empathy that comes forth because we love that guy and can understand. Because we love that guy, we can say, I need to treat everyone else the way that I would have treated that guy.
Yeah.
You know, last thoughts on Williams and heroism here, the first half of his life as a actor, communicator, artist.
That Dead Poets scene of leaping off the front of the desk, for a guy who does talk about fear, he was constantly leaping off the front of the desk into the next thing. And I mean, probably was afraid, but for everybody who wants to describe him as sort of a frenetic clown, and he certainly is that. And I mean clown in like the art sense of the word, but I think lots of people want to describe him as clown in the pejorative sense of the word. And if you hear him really talk in interviews, he was smart and he was sharp and he was shrewd and he had career goals and he really just knew what he was doing and was a risk taker and an innovator and is a genius.
Yeah.
Last word, Teach?
I got nothing to add to that.
We'll move into that element. I think, again, we can add risk taker, innovator, and commonly genius to what can emerge from really healthy sevens. And so as we elevate the heroism of these types, well worth naming here. I hadn't said this at the beginning, but it's been super important to me in terms of we are elevating heroes during this season because a lot of us just need heroes. Like sometimes you need heroes because it's a really, really dark time, and you're looking for who is the person that I can look to for inspiration, for perspective, for energy, for a reminder that doing the right thing is actually going to pay off in the end. And like our heroes all die, but going out having done the good, going out having sacrificed when it mattered most, going out having broken your own self open and poured your own self out for the sake of the spaces where it's yours to do that. You're not supposed to do that everywhere, but when it's yours to do, that is some of the heights of humanity, and it can't be taken away from you. And it's worth just reminding ourselves in the midst of everyone kind of tug-of-warring for power, authority, and attention, that there's a better way. And love this as a window into seeing that. So that's what I got. We're going to pick up Robin Williams next time. I'm going to hit the back half. There's so much. I mean, we only got to like 4 scenes, so most of our scenes are coming up. This was just a very long intro, given our deep affection and love for the man. Yeah. If you are into Enneagram, Around the Circle is our main feed. If you're just getting into Enneagram, Start Here podcast is actually releasing its 5th season. I'm going to be posting all of our first half of our long interviews with all of the most informed people that we know on their
I am not on any of those, so if you're going there, that will not hear me.
They know.
That's for my mom.
And if you're inspired and want to join us in chipping in $20 to make sure that some of the hungry in our city, which by the way are mostly kids who utilize the Weld County Food Bank, if you want to make sure that like your $20 actually provides, I want to say it's like 40 meals. Like they use that money real well.
That's amazing.
But if you want to chip in $20, just go to aroundthecircle.org, sign up for a membership. I'll donate everything that I get in this month from new people into that space. That's awesome. So that's Mothershed. It's always great talking to you, catching up with you, hearing your heart.
This is a lot of fun.
TJ Wilson, you're the man.
You are.
You got anything else, my man?
I got nothing.
Daniel Mothershed and TJ Wilson. They're both fine men. Extraordinary to talk to. Loving my Friday afternoon. And my name is Jeff Cook, and who you aren't just isn't interesting.
Get to the chopper!
I drink your milkshake.
Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night.
Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl